so exciting to have you on.
Oh, it's great to be here. It's a little different being in the interviewee chair, but I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Yeah. So tell me, you said that when I had, messaged you about setting this up. So tell me, why is it different for you to be in this side of the interview?
So I still work in communications. I'm a communications coordinator for the Chamber of Commerce in Lincoln, Nebraska, and so a lot of that is kind of doing PR, outreach with media outlets, things like that. In a former life, I was a television and radio news and sports reporter. So went to school for journalism, got my Bachelor of Journalism degree, started working in radio. Then it was radio and television at the same time. And so usually a lot of my days were either interviewing people in the sports realm or, at city council meetings, other news stories, things like that. So I think it's a little bit better being on this side of things.
Now, I was browsing your Twitter account. You have 27,000, 28,000 tweets out into the world. How does one accumulate that many tweets?
Well, I guess looking back, a lot of it was from when I was working in sports, but a lot of it is just kind of tweeting out scores or quotes from interviews, press conferences, things like that, or the occasional random thoughts on Liverpool soccer or music or movies that I've been watching, things like that. So definitely a lot of time wasted on that app over the years, but there's been a lot of good that's come out of it too.
Well, and my husband is big on Twitter, especially when the Brewers are in season. He loves talking to his Brewers people on Twitter. So when you applied and you were interviewing, he's like, you got to get MS Run the US on Twitter, and Chris has got a big Twitter thing, and we got to, and I was like, I appreciate it, but it's a beast. We've talked about it a lot as an organization, but it is a thing. It's a conversation platform. It's not like put one post out and then you're good. It's a conversation platform that is a lot to manage. So kudos to you for your 28,000 tweets.
Probably about 27,900 and some odd too many in most people's minds, but we'll keep it going for the next 27,000.
Sounds good. Now, you applied for this event having only run 14 miles at one time. And we have a pretty good following in terms of runners that have come out of Omaha and Lincoln. So we've had good press coverage in that area for MS Run the US. We run right through the area. So you've heard of this event in the past. What about this year made you think, okay, I'm going to sign up, never run a marathon, but let's do it?
So I gotten back into running kind of once the pandemic started. Like our gym closed up, which is in the neighborhood. So I was kind of looking for something to do. And I had signed up for the Lincoln Marathon, half marathon, in previous years. And so I always wanted to actually get back and train for it well and have a good time. And so I kind of did that, came across the run. I think I saw it pop up on Instagram over the summer, kind of thought, oh, maybe this would be something I could do, maybe not in 2021, but maybe, in the year after that, maybe if we keep running, things progress, maybe find out a little bit more of, what I'm looking for, that type of thing. And so I don't know what it was. I just kind of woke up one morning in September, maybe it was October, I can't remember, and just filled out the application. And I was fortunate that y'all decided I was worthy of being on the team.
Yay. And what did your wife say did you tell her before application, after? What was that like?
So I kind of brought it up to her, and she's been very supportive as always in anything I've done, but she's been just great through all of this. But I think her initial reaction was, which has been pretty similar to other people that I've told about it for the first time. You doing what now? I mean, that's kind of a common thing that I've heard from some of the other interviewees on here too, that you've been talking with. But I was thinking who I wanted to have that could, speak on my behalf, references and things like that. So I wanted a professional and a personal reference both on there. And so thought, okay, I think I'm ready for this. And, she was supportive the whole way, and family and friends have definitely been that way too.
That's great. Now, did you have to discuss with your cat the time away that you would have for training? Is that a conversation you had with your fur baby?
I think he's fine as long as someone is home to feed him. So usually if it's, my wife, which will be home for a good portion of this, she'll be fine. He's an interesting fellow, to say the least. He had some kind of major surgery at the end of last year, but he's kind of recuperated and on the mend, and still making appearances on my Zoom meetings when he wants fed in the afternoon. So everybody kind of gets a big tail that sort of goes right in front of the camera screen. He's sleeping right now, so he's content for the time being.
So we're good. Got it. I just always love talking about people's pets when they put it as part of their bio in a social media platform. I'm like, that's a really firm pet lover right there. Now, what is your connection to the cause? Did you tell me about your relationship there?
So, I guess most personally, the one that's I've always kind of looked to try and do something for because of her is my mom. She's had MS for better part of 30 years. And so, I mean, growing up, I always kind of knew that, something was a little different until I could understand the diagnosis a little bit more and just kind of seeing how it affected her to being to a point where she's wheelchair bound now and not able to do, some of the things that we would do growing up, playing catch in the backyard or going on walks and things like that. So I think I'd always kind of had the back of my mind that I wanted to get involved and try and do something, whether it was, through fundraising or, being active in a local organization or things like that. So that was a big push. A friend of mine also came down with the diagnosis within the last few years. And so just kind of seeing how he's initially been dealing with this and how he's got three young kids, him and his wife. They're certainly busy with everything going on. And so you throw that diagnosis on top of it. And, I just really admire not only my mom's strength through it, but obviously Kevin's. And then, just seeing other people on this team that we have that are running with, an MS diagnosis themselves and just how they've taken multiple sclerosis head on. They've been obviously, had their lives affected by this pretty profoundly. And so anytime that I'm feeling maybe I'm not up to the best run or not feeling the most energetic, I mean, if it's not enough to look at my mom and through Kevin, I just look through the teammates here and, I don't feel so bad anymore. I keep going.
Right. Yeah. And we've had, some cold days this winter where I've found a lot of inspiration from the team sharing posts of being out and, suiting up, and it's, -12 wind chill and, having, like you said, we have 8 members on this team living with MS. So we really don't have to go far to find inspiration of people living greatly while having this diagnosis and really making an impact. So I agree with you, man. It just really helps with those training runs for sure. And just perspective in life, really, right? Like pushing further right now and being part of this team isn't a huge jump when we look around and see what could happen.
Oh, no, definitely not. And so I think even with that, and I'd had some local friends that had kind of run for causes before, friends that I used to work with in radio, Jack Mitchell, he would run for various things every year. Brock Miner did Project Purple, Josh Peterson doing St. Jude, and then locally a guy named Andy Hoffman, if you've heard of Team Jack Hoffman, pediatric brain cancer. I think I and, other people familiar with the Team Jack story, I mean, we view Andy Hoffman as a hero. And so I think he's another person to really run for and to, obviously it's a different cause, but just to kind of keep those same principles in mind and, run with honor and integrity and run for a greater cause,
And running really is such a bonded community that it does cross the cause plane for sure. There's people that I love that run for different causes and I support them. And it's also like running is that space that gives you time to digest what is going on in your life and to process it and to work through it. And sometimes I think the farther you have to run, the crazier you are in what you need to process. But, it really is that community space where we all connect on this form of therapy that we love, but then doing it for a greater purpose really does, push us forward individually and as communities and individuals in the community.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think just, to finish that off, I mean, I think for me, it's just, I guess even being in my line of work communications, everybody thinks, you're an extroverted person and you do all these things and you're outgoing, and which for the most part I am, I guess. But, it's into the running community. These are people a lot of times where I'm kind of meeting people for the first time. So I'm pretty shy with that. I mean, probably a lot of people are in the same boat, but it's just to try and find that shared experience and, make the best of it and really do awesome things.
Yeah, and so to not to divert from the conversation, but I want to ask you 2 things. One in relation to what you were kind of just talking about with it being in communication. So, great interview so far. What's your biggest communication fail in your history of work?
Oh gosh, so there's been several times where you get a great interview done and you either forget to hit the microphone to turn it on or the camera itself doesn't turn on. Probably the one that could have been a lot worse was I was doing an interview at a fire station. I could kind of hear something, just kind of like you just hear like a little silent, not a silent thing, but you could just hear like a little very quiet kind of, I don't know, hard to explain. Essentially, the tripod was falling over. It had the viewfinder out. So instead of just hitting straight on the camera, just hit out on the viewfinder. Kind of cracked up that part of it. It was fine. It didn't affect the camera really, other than just like the plastic molding had kind of broken apart just a little bit. It was still intact for the most part. But yeah, that was a $1,000 nightmare that was luckily avoided right there.
You're lucky, yeah, because cameras are not inexpensive. So that I could see being like, no. Now, how do you like? I know you're a craft beer connoisseur. So tell me, when you finish a run, what's your go-to craft beer?
I definitely like kind of the hazier IPAs. Been definitely on that train for a while. So a few good ones. Fairy Nectar from Cross Strain here in the Omaha area is great. Love King Sue, which is Toppling Goliath up in Northeast Iowa. And then some of the more national ones, like Pliny the Elder. That one's kind of a white whale for a lot of people. It's been an OG beer, but it's really good. I'll enjoy a stout. I mean, kind of getting into sours a little bit lately too. So anybody's got any recommendations, let me know and I'll seek them out.
So it sounds like you don't really discriminate when it comes to beer a little bit.
I do not. If it looks pretty, tastes good, it's all right for me. So everybody's doing a really good job for breweries, and there's a lot of good choices out there.
That's very true. Now, before we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to ask me a question.
Okay, so I've always thought about this. What if I wasn't where I was? What would I want to be good at, or what would I want to do? So talents that I've always wanted to have is either to dunk a basketball or to maybe play the piano, which one of those is probably not going to happen. Maybe I can learn to dunk a basketball, but we'll see. So with you, what's a talent that you have that maybe you have never tried before, or that you've tried and have failed at miserably, but you wanted to be good at?
That's a good question. So the basketball thing, I played that 1 year in high school. I wasn't very good, and I gave it a good shot. Like over summer, like I practice, like I know how to work hard, and it just wasn't happening. Although, like, I don't have the love for basketball to do it, so it's not like a regret. Now, if I had to pick a couple skills, I would definitely say speaking a foreign language. I don't speak a foreign language. I took the standard 2 years in high school of Spanish, and that didn't stick, and I didn't do it afterwards. So that's one. And then playing a musical instrument, just any musical instrument would be good. And I know probably Nikki, segment 7, is going to hold this against me because she plays like 12 musical instruments and is really proficient. So, but those are my two skills that I would develop if I had more time to develop a skill. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to see you run in June. Keep up the great training and the posts on Instagram and Twitter, and we'll see you this summer.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate it.
Bye. I'm Ashley Schneider, Executive Director of MS Run US. Thank you so much for watching our videos, and make sure to subscribe so you can get our latest uploads.